This is 25 to Life with Uncle Yahshuah.
Rolling down 109 in a truck. Pull my ride up to the light, that's what's up. Look to my right and it's a ride rolling up. It's Lucci telling me tonight we in the club. He got the 24 on Escalade. He got the Lamborghini doors like they blades. His hammers ring cause that's how he was raised. His palace mob and tonight we get
Listen, I'm from the ghetto, the slums, the rats, the roaches, the bums, the metal that stuns, the addicts, the cracks, the crumbs, the level where funds gets tragic and lavish is none. With rebels, they runs and rabbits like savages' sons. With did him and bigger and swiftly he shined the mug. That city a pity with 50 took 9 of them slugs. This is 25 to Life with Uncle Yahshuah.
What's good, what's good, what's good? 25 to Life Tales, 25 to Life, Uncle Yahshuah, 25 to Life TV. What's good, world, what's good? Shout out to everybody who in here, all 10,000 of us that's in here live. Shalom, welcome everybody. Shalom, Maryam, Zayana, Waya, Yashral, and Stretchy. It's only 4 of us in the strat right now. Mariyaha Makabaz. Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. Mariyaha is here, guys, and Mariyaha worldwide, and Atsaya. Mariyaha is in a place in the world called the Netherlands. Y'all know this internet is worldwide. Shout out to Mashiach Assembly Ministries, Uncle Yahshuah. Our ministry, guys, is worldwide. So we got people shout out KD Kid. Peace, King. How are you, my G? Amar. Shout out Brianna in the building for the first time. Fayyad in the building. All right, we got New York in the building. So the interesting part of this, guys, is we got Fayyad from New York and we got Mariyaha from the Netherlands. And the foundation of this story, shout out Yeshara La out there. The foundation of this story is about New York and the Netherlands. And I know y'all like, Unc, how in the world are you tying New York and the Netherlands together? Yeah, it's time. It's gonna be a very important story. So I have to tie in New York and the Netherlands because there's something very traumatic that happened in my childhood. And in New York, for those who know, I'm an elder. So y'all know the stories are from the 80s and the 90s, so y'all already know, right? So that means there was a time that I was a kid in the 70s. And New York was a very, very, very racist city back in the days. Just like the rest of the world, really. Because there was a curse put over the so-called black people who were scattered across the 4 corners of the planet Earth from the transatlantic slave trade. There was a curse put over our head. And so every place where we were scattered to, we were subject to the most vile, disgusting things that every nation of people on earth would hate us. And they would try to do everything they can to destroy us. Yeah. So growing up in New York City, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 50s, all that, especially around the world. But New York City was very, very, very racist. Now, they had these people that would just hate the so-called black people. And these people, as the scripture said, he would send a people that ain't a people, and they will have no regards for the old, elders, or the youth. And when I grew up, these people would try to kill us as kids. As children, they would try to kill us. Now, when hip-hop, what everybody's used to, hip-hop started in New York City. It's a debate that it started in the Bronx. Brooklyn is saying it didn't start in the Bronx. Queens is saying it didn't. And because I understand, because I was there, so I know what they're talking about. But that ain't what this lesson they're hearing about, the debate of where it started, actually. But it started in New York City, okay? In a place that they named Boroughs. And you're going to find out where Boroughs came from, where the 5 boroughs came from. All right, now, Oh, peace to Unique. Peace, King. Um, thank you, Unique. Unique, next week, Unique is gonna be starring. Now I'm putting him on the spot. I'm telling y'all everyone. He was gonna be tonight, but he had to go to, I just seen it, Unique. I just seen your messages. He had to go to a funeral where we're from in Park. He out there in Hempstead Strong Island in Parkside. So where I'm about to tell the story that I was at where these things happened to me in this story tonight. So he was gonna come on tonight and tell a story, and but he'll be here next week because he had to go to a funeral. So my condolences out there to 40. My condolences out there to Father Boo and to Sconey. For all of those, y'all might not remember, but almost every time you hear me tell one of the stories when I was on my street, I said Mike came to see me and Sconey. And Sconey is in all those stories when I'm on the street and we're shooting out and stuff. He was part of my crew. So Sconey is that's Box. Shout out to Box Sconey. So Sconey, his sister must have passed away. So my condolences to them. So Unique, we're gonna set it up. Again, we got to do a test run to make sure your mic work and everything. I just can't have it live. So the reason why I can't do you now live, King, is because I already set up. Once I couldn't get in touch with you, I set up the thumbnail. And once I set up thumbnail, people are coming to hear this story. They coming to hear a story about, they tried to kill me and Method Man. I can't change the program because I was going to do it. And I was like, hold up, I already made the thumbnail and everything. You can't change the program in the middle. All right. So Unique will be here next week telling the story. He has an update to the Huntington story where that bully. Remember the Huntington story where that bully? Unique got his name, and there's another part of the story that Unique gonna tell of the Huntington story. Y'all go to the Emerson Boozer, the football player, the Super Bowl champ. That story. Unique got an update of because he was there. He was part of it. With that bully. He ran into that bully again after that story, so he's going to come on next week and tell that part of the story. All right. So, now, the beginning of hip-hop, guys, was, there was in the Bronx, there's projects called Bronxdale. That's where we get the saying B-boys. B-boy come from Bronxdale boys, right? And B-boy dance and all that. At the beginning of hip hop, but even before we created hip hop, before New York City created hip hop, everywhere in New York was being attacked by the white community. Now, this ain't no disrespect to my so-called white brothers and sisters, just like we are so-called black brothers and sisters. Everybody black, all skin folk ain't kin folk, right? Everybody black ain't your brother, right? And everybody white ain't the same. It's the same thing as well, right? So you just can't label all black as black and all white as white, okay? So there are good black people, good white people, good whatever, right? Good and bad. Now, there are a certain group of this, like, we got bad black people too, right? So-called black people. So there's a certain part of these people who are very, very, very disgustingly racist and evil. And Yahshuah is in the Netherlands, and because he's part of our ministry, and I was helping him through his travel. And he said in the land that he's in, guys, everybody worldwide, in the Netherlands, they got black people. Shalom, Aaron Daly, shout out, King. They got black people, right? And we don't realize because see, our ministry goes across the world. So he told me, he said, these people are so racist beyond belief. They treat me, like I'm a foreign, like I'm a species, like a foreign species or something. Guess what, Yahshuah? In doing this story and preparing the story, I found out the foundation. All right, guys. Now the b-boy hip hop. We in the 60s, in the late 50s and the early 60s, New York City created gangs. Gangs started happening amongst the so-called black people in New York City. Most people don't know that. They think a lot of the gangs were really just in Chicago and California. Y'all know about the Bloods and Crips. But most people don't know about the Black Spades. And in my hood, we had the warlords. We had the paybacks. Facts. We had a lot of gangs. So all of New York City was full of gangs. And the reason why New York City we started to have gangs, the so-called black people in our hoods and projects, is because we were getting attacked by the neighboring communities of the so-called white people, the racist ones that hated us. Now, in the Bronx, they were surrounded by white communities. In Brooklyn, they were surrounded by white communities. In Queens, they were surrounded by white communities. In Strong Island, surrounded. Staten Island, surrounded. Mostly every place where the so-called black people lived, they were surrounded by these white communities who were just fed this racist ideology. And the curses were still on us, so these things had to be fulfilled and lived out. Now, everywhere that we lived, there was ghettos everywhere, but surrounded by white communities that would attack us. So when I grew up, it was dangerous to just go outside, especially if you go outside of your neighborhood. You had to keep your head on swivel for roving bands of white boys. Sorry, guys, this is going to be a rough one. It's just the truth. This is what was the reality that happened. They got clippings and everything to show you this. So they had roving bands of white people that would attack us wherever we would go outside. Where I'm from in Hempstead, Strong Island, when I grew up at this story I'm telling, we had neighborhoods called Baldwin. We had East Meadow, Levittown, like Lenbrook, even West Hempstead, even all surrounded Garden City. You ain't want to go to Garden City. Garden City, boy, they load you up with crime. You've been got 1,000 years in jail trying to go to the Roosevelt Field Mall just to go through Garden City to get to the mall. Oh, everybody know facts. They'll load you up with all type of unsolved crimes like you don't want. So, Unique said, respect. I know King Goo, Moondog, Doc, Rap, we will build. Please shut out my queen, Kathy Jones, Cut Buddy sister. Love you. All right, shout out Kathy Jones, Cut Buddy sister. All right, I remember Kathy. And shout out to Big Magoo. Shout out Moondog. Shout out Biz and Rap and Court. I don't know. He's saying a couple of people. I think he's talking about Rap, and I don't know which Cord he's talking about, unless he's talking about Ty Phil's brother, Cord. I got a story about Cord. Cord was the one that tried to help me when I was in jail, my 25 to life story. When I start to tell my 25 to life story, jail stories, Cord, he's a CO in jail, Ty Phil's brother, a badge. He was like, he made it up there, almost a captain or something, and he tried to help me. He couldn't help me. It was crazy. So I got a story coming about Core when I start to tell the 25 life tales. The part of being about my jail to how I got, the 25, all those stories. All right. So let's continue. So when we grew up, guys, and remember everybody, I'm riding, you drive. So a lot of these people got short attention spans, but this is context here. Context is key. So in New York, all through New York. So in the Bronx, all the gangs started because we had to come together. They made gangs so that the so-called black people in our neighborhood, we started crews, right? And the crews, it wasn't gangs, it was crews. Well, it was gangs back then, before the crews. Yeah, we changed later. When my generation came up, we changed the gangs because hip-hop started, then we started crews. Let me get that correct. But they started gangs. So in the Bronx, they had the big gang called the Black Spades. And that's the Bronxdale and Bronx River and all of them. This is the beginning. And they would fight against the, I thought that he said Core Fields, shout out, and Rap. I knew he was talking about Rap. Shout out to Rap. And shout out Lil Bump and C-Rap. I got some stories coming about all of them. Facts. We got some stories coming, guys. All right, so let me focus. So they started the gangs to be able to fight the white because the white communities had gangs too. So you had the Italians and and the wish, you know, you can't say the wish people, the ooish people, you can't say that on YouTube, you get banned. So you had gangs of roving white peoples, and all of them that would attack the blacks, right? Just like in the South, right? So in New York, they formed gangs. We formed gangs so that they can protect themselves against the attacks. On Strong Island, it was the same thing. So when we created hip hop, we created the music and the gangs and plus the city, the mayor and all of them, they tried to squash out the gangs. And then hip hop, we replaced the gangs with crews. And then because once we started standing up, fighting them, the white neighborhood started to go further out. They started to like move away. They call it white flight, right? They started to move away. Now, as they started to move away, they started to move to places like Strong Island. That was one of the places in Queens and stuff. So as a lot of them moved from the other parts of the Bronx and all that type of stuff, they started to come out to Long Island. So we had more attacking us. All right, now, in the beginning, this goes back, guys. In the beginning, there was a land of people called the Dutch, the Netherlands. Y'all heard of Holland, Dutch country. Y'all heard of Amsterdam. That's where they go to smoke all the weed. The weed was first legal there and all that. The Dutch was very instrumental in the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. Shalom, daughter Yah Mashiach Yavana. Now understand something. Now guys, we ain't just, I know people want to tell stories. It's going to have relevance when I get to the story. But Unc is a teacher, so learn something. They think we're ignorant, right? We're talking about these powers that be. We're not ignorant. So sit down, you know, those who are in the street and all that, sit down and you're going to learn something real important today. Worldwide, y'all going to learn how New York got created. It was created by the Dutch. Listen to this, Mariaha. He's in the Netherlands now. He's in the Dutch land now, right? He goes to Amsterdam and all of that. So the Dutch created New York. New York City, New York was, no, not New York, just New York was created by the Dutch. And then the English, the British came and fought against the Dutch, and it was taken over and renamed when the British came. New York, now the Dutch was very instrumental in slavery. They had a company called the Dutch West India Trading Company, something like that. And they had a second one that came out, the Dutch West East Indies Trading Company. Yes, the Dutch West Indies Trading Company. They are the ones who came to the west coast of Africa to steal the people. It was the Dutch, it was the Spanish, it was the Portuguese, and then the English. And that other one with King Leopold. Somebody write with that in the chat. Come on, the awakened children. Write the King Leopold, where his country was. I forgot because King Leopold was the worst of them all. His country, I forgot what it was called right now. Somebody write it, I'll see it. Now, the Dutch was one of the most Belgium. Thank you, Wyatt. Belgium. So it's Belgium, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, UK, United Kingdom, and the Dutch. Now, yes, Belgium. Thank you, Atsaya. So the Dutch was the most. The Dutch West Indies Trading Company had more slaves than any of them. The Dutch was very instrumental in shipping. Listen clearly. The Dutch West Indies Trading Company was the most important in shipping the slaves they got from the west coast of Africa, our ancestors, us, and shipping us to the Caribbean and to North America. We all almost came over on these Dutch, and I'll save that. That'll get us shadow banned on this channel. I say that for my ministry channel in the Patreon where we drop the true facts. All right, now listen. So the Dutch was one of the first to to populate this place in North America when it was new. There was a navigator, his name was Henry Hudson. Come on, now listen clearly, guys. This is going to have relevance to this story. So if y'all got a short attention span, then beat it, dude. We ain't ignorant, guys. I'm talking about those my brothers in the street. You're gonna learn at 25 to life as well as get to tell the stories. This is gonna have relevance. So the Dutch, they had an explorer, navigator named Henry Hudson. All those y'all heard of him, the Hudson River, right? So y'all about to find something, New Yorkers, y'all about to find out our history. So the Dutch, Henry Hudson, he was a Englishman, but he moved to the Dutch country, the Netherlands, and he worked for working for the Dutch East Indies Trading Company. So he was hired by them to go travel to the East Indies and get stuff like perfumes and stuff, trading stuff, but he took the wrong route. And he took a route and he discovered something. He came across the eastern shore of New York, but it wasn't named that yet. He came across. Now, let me this is all gonna have relevance. Y'all take this ride. So I put the clip. Henry Hudson was an English navigator, explorer who's best known for whatever. He credited with helping the Dutch colony of New Netherlands, which could later became New York. Now, in 1609, this is the 1600s, he set sail from Amsterdam on behalf of the Dutch East India Company with the goal of finding a new trade route to Asia. So he was trying to leave the Amsterdam Dutch to find a new route to trade in Asia. Instead, he sailed westward across the Atlantic Ocean and reached the coast of North America, where he explored the region around present-day New York Harbor and now what is called the Hudson River. His voyage was significant because it was the first time that Europeans had explored this part of North America. So listen clearly, no Europeans, those so-called white Europeans, had discovered this part of North America. They weren't in our part where we're from. All right? Now, the Dutch, when he discovered this part, right? And when he came, I'm going to show y'all, the Hudson River comes across Staten Island, right? And then the part of Long Island. Okay, there was nothing else here, okay? But I'm going to explain this to y'all. So, when he came through, he landed on Staten Island first. And he named the island, y'all going to find out the names. He named Staten Island for it was Staten Island, E-Y-L-A-N-D, Staten Island. That was the English government type thing for the state government. So it's Staten, but when the English took it over, they renamed it Staten Island. So the English, when they took over after they beat the Dutch and they met the Dutch, the English renamed all of the lands. So the Dutch, when he got here, he named Staten Island, became Staten Island, and that's where he first landed. And he was, but our land was owned by the Indians, the Native Americans, right? And y'all know that the first ones were so-called black. There was the Northern Kingdom of the people of the book, right? And they said, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey, y'all. Yeah, they called on the Most High's name. Facts. Now, so when they got here, now this is the problem. This is the history of the United States. For some demonic reason, these people think they could just come here and they call it exploring and colonizing. But they came over and took people's land who were here, who owned it, and killed and slaughtered them. But they call it exploring. Like I could come to your house. This is the reality. I could come to your block, your street, to your house, And I could look and say, I'm exploring, right? And I come look at your house and be like, I come in there and I'm like, I'm taking over this house. I'm colonizing this house. I'm just going to take it. And I'm going to kill you and take it over. Yeah, that's what they did. So when they got to Staten Island, that wasn't the name. It was run by Native Americans. And the Native Americans who ran that was it was the Hackensack Indians and the what was they called? The Hackensack. I had it written down. All right, I got so much papers. Oh, the Raritan Indians tribes, the Raritan, Raitan, and the Hackensack. For those who know about New Jersey, Staten Island was part of New Jersey, but there wasn't named New Jersey yet. There was all one region. That's why you get Hackensack, New Jersey. A lot of these places are named. All of New York is named after Native American, the Dutch, and the English. That's who conquered the Native American land. But before that, they had all Native American names. Now, so when they got to the land called now Staten Island, and New Jersey, they started warring with the Raritan tribes and the Hackensack tribes. All right, for Jersey in the building. This is where Hackensack gets his name from, Hackensack, New Jersey. Now, Henry Hudson, now the important part about that, and this is going somewhere, guys. Trust me, this is going somewhere. So the important part about Henry Hudson, let me show y'all something. Let me share this one right now. This one, let me see. This tab right here. Is it this one? Yeah, this one. Let's do this one first. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I need y'all to see something. Y'all need to see something. All right. So, here, share. Let me go back. Share the screen. Here we go. Present. Share screen. And it's got all relevance. This is important. Y'all going to learn something today. Sit back with Unc and let's learn, guys. All right. Here we go. Share. All right. I'm going to make it bigger on another screen so y'all can really see. You see this? It says the 13 tribes of Indians who were the first proprietors of Long Island. Now, this ain't just about Long Island. This is the key. The tribes, the 13 tribes. All right, first of all, let me show y'all this. Y'all see this little strip right here? That's the Hudson River. This right here is Staten Island. That says Manhattan. This right here is the Bronx. And this is Long Island. I know y'all didn't know that. Look how big Long Island is. I know nobody knew that. And look how small Manhattan is. I know y'all didn't know that. Yes. All right. Now, so this right here is Staten Island when he got here. All right. Let me do this. I'm going to do y'all one even better. I'm going to do one better. That one right there. All right. I got one better. And this is all relevance. Y'all hold on. We in 25 life class before a second. Y'all going to learn a lot. All right. Here we go. Shout out Louis V. Peace to Louis V out there in Connecticut. And Connecticut is part of the story too, Louis V. Louis V, well, even if you pay attention, Louis V, you're going to learn some. Connecticut is part of the story too. It's coming up in a second. All right, let me stop sharing. Let me reshare because I want to show y'all this one. Even clearer. I need a closer view of this one. Window. There it go. Right there. Share. All right, here we go. Now, see, I can zoom in on this one. All right, so look at this, guys. And look, Connecticut is up here, Louis V. Oh, on the other one, I'll show you. It's right at the top. Connecticut is part of this story, too. So, right here, let me scroll over. This is the Hudson River when they named it. This was the Dutch settlement to Staten Island. That's Manhattan. So, when he got there, there was an Indian massacre on Staten Island. You see that? It says 1665 Indian massacre. They was massacring, killing. These are killing. They use words massacre for when they were slaughtering and killing our ancestors, the Native Americans. Now, so, and he got here in 1609 and they started. Now, before that, this was all Indian land, Native American, right? Manhattan is when they first came, the Dutch. So when they came, when he realized he was going to trade in this Henry Hudson, he realized he went back to the Dutch and said, I found a new land. So the Dutch came and they first encompassed, they first got their first settlement in Manhattan, right? The New Netherlands. They conquered this land and called it the New Netherlands, right? Now, that was the New Netherlands encompassed what we now call New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and what they call, well, the whole New York, Long Island. But that whole area was called New Netherlands. That was the name of that. It was one area. So it was all one mass called New Netherlands. The English came and separated it and separated Connecticut, New Jersey. They renamed it later. Now, it was all New Netherland. That's what this land was called. Then, once they did that, and they found out that they was killing the native Indians, Native Americans there, they kept going back and reinforcing. Then they came back, and this was an Indian tribe called the Manhattan tribe, or Indian tribe. And they came and they took this island and they named this New Amsterdam after their city of Amsterdam in Dutch country. So Manhattan was called New Amsterdam, right? And Peter Stuyvesant, that's where you get Bedford Stuyvesant, Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, right? That was the Bedford Creek. It was a creek, a water creek that went through this part of it wasn't Brooklyn then. It was Long Island then. That's something y'all don't know. Y'all about to find out. It was Long Island. It wasn't Brooklyn. It was Long Island, right? And it was called Bedford Creek, and Peter Stuyvesant had a farm there, a big popular farm, and so they named in that part, they named it Bedford Stuyvesant for Peter Stuyvesant. Peter Stuyvesant became the general over this New Amsterdam. Later, when the British came, when the Brits came, when the UK came and fought it, they battled the Dutch and kicked them out and conquered it, and they renamed New Amsterdam to New York from the Duke of York of England. That's how New York got its name. Understand, this is all, first of all, it was Native American Indian land that they came, the Dutch came and fought and massacred the Indians, and then the English came and fought the Dutch and took it over and renamed it, right? And they separated Staten Island, they stayed at Staten Island, New Amsterdam, they named it New York, right? They named the other part of Connecticut and all that. Up here, that's Manhattan. Look, this is the Bronx. There was a man named Jonas Bronk, a Dutch man, Bronk. That's where the Bronx come from. Jonas Bronk in 1639. You're going to find out in a second. All right, now, and this was the South Bronx is where before it was called that. Now, so when Henry Hudson came, when they did Staten Island, right? And then when they did New Amsterdam, which was Manhattan, then they traveled around. So they set up they New Amsterdam was their hub. That was their new base. And Peter Stuyvesant came, he was the president of this island. So then the Dutch, they came around and Henry Hudson, look at this. He landed, first of all, let me give y'all the tribes. The tribes who were here, oh, that's the wrong slide. All right, let me do this one first, and then since I'm here already. Henry Hudson came around, and see, look at this. And he came around, and they was going to exploit this big Indian land, which the Native Americans, in the English translation, called it just the Long Island, because the island was, look at the size of it. It was long and huge. So, and the 13 tribes owned this island, right? This whole island. So when Henry Hudson came, They was going to conquer this island now, this Native American land right here. From 13 tribes own this land, right? And now you're going to find out their names. So when he landed at this place called Coney, Long Island. It's called Coney. Look, Hudson is on Coney, Long Island, and John Coleman was killed by the Indians. The Iroquois were here. There was a massacre at Canarsie, what you now call Canarsie, Brooklyn, where it was Canarsie, Long Island, by the Iroquois Indians when they came. Now, I'm going to stop share. We're going to get to it, but y'all, this is all relevant of what's happening. Let's go. We're going to learn something today. This is good stuff. Listen clearly. Now, let me go to this one, because this one is going to show y'all. Let me show y'all. Oh, yeah, y'all going to learn today. That's what we do at 25. This ain't just no ghetto stories. Nah, and it's all relevance. Y'all going to really learn something today. Let me go back and share this screen now. Click this. Click, present, share screen, share this one. Here we go. Share. All right, now, this is the 13 tribes of Indians who lived here. Look at this. Look at the size of Long Island. Y'all see it now in full? I know. It's like, look at the size of Manhattan. This up here is Connecticut, and it goes further up. They just showing the tip of it. Connecticut is huge too. And this is Staten Island, goes into Jersey. That's big. But look at Long Island compared to Manhattan. Right? Now, now look at the map. Historic Long Island, a map showing its towns and villages and the outstanding events during the time. Look at this. Look what they named this. Detailed map of the Dutch settlements on Western Long Island, now the borough of Brooklyn. Okay? The first 100 years of Long Island history is after coming of the Dutch and the English. This is our history. Now, see, the shores of New England, that's Connecticut and stuff. All right, now, these are the 13 tribes of Native Americans who were here. The Canarsies. That's where we get Canarsie, Brooklyn. For all those in Brooklyn from Canarsie, these are Canarsie Indians. The Rockaway Indians. The Rockaways. This is where we get Far Rockaway. For everybody at 25 like know all these stories, watching St. Lodge, y'all hearing everybody telling their stories from New York, from the crack era, Far Rockaway, Brooklyn, Canarsie, all that, Bedford Stuyvesant. Y'all find it out, guys. These are Dutch, English, and Native Americans. Now listen, the Rockaways, the Matinacocks tribe, the Maricos tribe, the Massapequas tribe. That's where we get Massapequa, Long Island. The Secataws tribe, the Nessacogs tribe, the Setauket tribe. That's where we get Setauket, Long Island. The Patchogue tribe. That's where we get Patchogue, Long Island. These are places in Long Island. It's the Shinnecocks, the Coroks, the Manhassets. That's where we get Manhattan and Manhasset, Long Island, and Manhattan, the island. The Manhasset Indians, the Montauk Indians. That's where we get Montauk, Long Island. Now, okay, so now, these are the 13 tribes who owned this. This was their land when they came. Let's do this. Let me scroll around. Let's go to the first. In 1609, Indian village dotted this land. This whole thing of Long Island was all Indian villages, Native American Indians. 1600s, the beginning. This is when Henry Hudson. But in 1609, Henry Hudson, he landed at Coney on Long Island. That's down here. This little place from the Hudson River, he landed here. And he got, John Collins, his boy, got killed by the, it was probably the Rockaway tribe, the Canarsie tribe. The Canarsie natives was right there. Now, this says, hold on, let me move this. In 1613, Adrian Block builds an awntress for them to come on, like he built an on-trust thing. So all of these ships, these Dutch ships that would come, they would be able to unload the people. The people would be able to just come on to the land, right, of Long Island, what wasn't called Brooklyn then. In 1614, he sails around Long Island block. Now this is Brooklyn. In 1626, the first land purchase on Long Island. In 1638, the Brooklyn Ferry started. Whatever. The settlers arrived in New England in 1640. They arrived from New England. They was coming from Connecticut. The English settlers, they conquered Connecticut. They was coming over. In 1644, the English town received a charter. In 1644, Hempstead becomes a farm center. They named Hempstead Town. All right. Now, I'm gonna do this quickly because I want y'all to, we're gonna get to the story. Now, when he came in, right, this was all Indian land, Native American land. This is the land of what it was when he got here. Here we go. Let me see, because I got to switch the tabs. Give me 1 second. All right. Let me see if I wonder if I switch tabs, will it just, nah, let me just do it correctly because I need to. All right. Once I get through these tabs, guys, we're going to get right to the story. It's very important. Now, let me share again. Look at this. Share screen. Share screen. Where is it? Window. This one. Share. All right. This is the land, how it looked. The Indians of Long Island in the year 1600. This was Long Island. Canarsie Indians, the Rockaway Indians, Maricopa, Manitowoc, Nissac, Massapock, Secretary. This is where Patchogue, the Shinnecock. Look, Montauk, Long Island, the Montauk Indians, Manhasset. This was Long Island. This up here is Connecticut, where they came through. That's over there was before when Staten Island, the Indians. The Long Island tribes were indicated thus. The American also included tribes from the neighboring regions. See, and this is the language that they spoke. The Indians called Long Island Sawahaki, Wamapaki, whatever, Mohican, Matatawaks, and Pawagawa, whatever, how you say that. Everywhere you see the underline, this is the language, the Indian languages that they spoke. These natives in Long Island. The Indians of Long Island, see, although the Indians of Pamaka lived in 13 different tribes, there was little to distinguish the various communities. They shared the same customs, religion, language, and dress. The 13 tribes form a loose confederation, acknowledging the authority of one intertribal Sachem chief. And they got a part called Sachem, Long Island, too. That's where that comes from, Sachem. The Sachem of the Manitawks often held the position. The warlike Manitawks, the Manitawks warlike, somewhat dominating the other more powerful, more peaceful tribes. So the Manitawks was beastly. They was no joke. All right. Now, all right. So this was this is Brooklyn, right? And this is the whole Long Island. It was called, and the natives called it a Long Island because it was long. All right. Now, this picture right here is the purchase of Hempstead in 1643. In the courtroom in Hempstead, when I used to get arrested and go to pay from the Hempstead police to pay my traffic tickets, they got this mural written, drawn on the wall, and I've seen it since I was a child. Everybody's seen it. This mural written of the English Dutch from Connecticut coming to buy Hempstead from the natives. This says the purchase of Hempstead in 1643. Settlers from Stamford, Connecticut, that conquered Connecticut, buy the land from the Indians in their typical manner. The Indians had little understanding of what was happening, these transactions. They probably thought that these goods were just for them to a renting. They didn't know they was coming to take their land. All right? Now, let me stop share. I'm almost complete, guys. I just want to get this understanding first, right? Stop share. Now let me give y'all this one. All right, let me see if I do this one. Yeah, there we go. So now I'm going to do this one, and then we're going to get started. Let me go back. I need to go back to share screen. Share screen. Where we at? Here. Okay. Present, share screen, window. It was this one. Yep, this one. Share. All right. Now, this is Long Island as it was in 1843. Long Island. They started Kings. Y'all going to find out where Kings County, Queens. For everybody from Queens, y'all going to find out where Queens come from. There was 3 counties. Kings, Queens, and Suffolk County. There was no Nassau County. Queens, Hempstead was Queens. Look, Hempstead, Queens. Flushing, Queens. Jamaica and Hempstead. It was Queens. Hempstead was Queens, was a borough of New York City before in 1689, 90, they changed it. Y'all gonna find. But it was Kings County, Queens County, and Suffolk County. Okay? So this is Coney Island, Rockaway. This is Far Rockaway around here. So this is Coney Island, Far Rockaway, Long Beach, the beach, and Jones Beach for the Greek Fest. And then it goes out to Eastern Long Island with the other beaches out there. So this was Gravesend Flatlands. This wasn't called Brooklyn. This was called Flatland first. Brooklyn got its name from a town called Brookline. All right, y'all gonna find that out when this wasn't Brooklyn, right? And look, this was Jersey City. So look at Staten Island was Jersey. See this? Jersey City. Okay, now, no, this Staten Island over here. But it was connected to it, right? This is Staten Island right here. All right, now, and this is where Henry Sesson came through the New York Harbor and then invaded. Okay, you see it says, so these are all Dutch names. Okay, now, so that there you go. Hempstead was part of Queens. All right, now I'm getting through these we call these slides. All right, so I don't got to do that one. That's okay. I'll do that in another lesson on my ministry. I need to get back. Let me stop share and let me get to this. And now I can go ahead. All right. So let me get back and we're going to get started, guys. All right. So let me go to this one. This one, we did that one. I showed you that one. Okay. Let me make sure. What's this one? There we go. That's the one I want you to see. All right. So let me share screen. Okay. Here. Present. Share screen. Share. This one. Share. This is from the Brooklyn Public Library, for those who want to be in their feelings. Center for Brooklyn History. Brooklyn, Long Island. This says Long Island families, 1600 through the 1700. This was Long Island. Kings County, Flatbush, Jamaica, Hempstead. Y'all see it, right? Y'all see it all, right? Now, these are the families of Long Island, the Kings County families, right? Look at these names for those from Brooklyn. Wyckoff, the Wyckoff Parkway in Brooklyn. Schenectady Avenue, Brooklyn. Let me see some that y'all might see. Lubborston, Dorland, Bergen, Bennett, Cropsey Road, people in Brooklyn, Stillwell Avenue, Van Pelt, right? Vanderbilt projects, the Vanderbilt houses, Vanderveer. Look at these names. Lefferts Boulevard, Ditmas Boulevard in Brooklyn, Flatbush, Brevort Projects in Bed-Stuy, where Fabulous the rapper from, where my family is from, Brevort, my mom's, Brevort Projects. All right? Sudan. Some of these names look familiar to you guys. Van Sicklin. Oh, most people don't know these are streets and names and projects in Brooklyn. Stillwell. Stryker. Okay? See, most people don't know. We don't even know where this stuff come from. These are all Dutch and English names. These are the families who these Long Island families of Long Island, this is the foundation of it all. All right, now, okay, let me stop sharing that. All right, and here we go. This is the last one, and then we're gonna get started. All right, so that one, this one. All right, let me stop share so I can reshare this one, and then we're going to get started. Last one. I needed the context. Y'all needed to understand where this is going first. It's very important, and you need to learn your history. Time to learn. We get enough of foolish stuff. Time to learn. All right, here we go. Share. This is the New York Times. The New York Times Magazine. History of Long Island Blacks shown in Hempstead Museum. Evidence that a black man was among the 23 founders of Brooklyn, that a Long Island slave was the first published black author in the United States. And that Long Island slave owners were among the cruelest in the nation, in the United States, were among the featured exhibits at today's Black History Museum. All right, now, this Long Island was one of the first founders of Brooklyn. It was Bushwick, Brooklyn was established. Peter Stuyvesant gave out land grants, and he gave one to this black Long Island. His name was Francis Coe the Negro. For all those in the Awakening, y'all know, if y'all know, I'm going to teach it in our ministry. In the Awakening, even in Spain and Portugal, we were called the Negro. They would put that in. That's what the last names would be called, the Negro. Yaya Negro. Yaya Negro was the most powerful in Spain and Portugal. His name was Yaya Negro, the Negro family, Yaya family, his family. All right, so he was identified as Francis Coe the Negro. And his name is one of the 23 on the first land grant by Peter Stuyvesant to the residents of the town of Bushwick, which is now Brooklyn, because it was Bushwick, Long Island. Now Brooklyn, dated February 16, 1660. All right? Now, all right. So, and they got the records from the Queensborough Library with current residents of Long Island, all right, who answers on the same area, all that. All right. Now, stop sharing. Okay. So, now, these Dutch, all right, let me go here. Let me go here. We almost complete, guys. I need to come back here because I want to show y'all the last pieces of this. All right. So let me go back here. Go back to this. Go back to this. Go back to, where is it? Where is it? Where Fayya says she from Bushwick and East New York. Oh, you about to find something out, Fayya. Let's go back to present. Let's go back to share screen. Share screen, window, this one, share, because I can zoom in on this one. All right, I need to zoom in because if I did, it's going to be too small. Now, here we go. So Henry Hudson landed on Coney, Long Island. And John Coleman in 1609 got killed by the Indians, by the Canarsie Indians. Then there was a massacre, right? Canarsie. Massacred by the Iroquois, right? For later when they got there. Now, the first land that was purchased on Long Island, there was no Brooklyn yet. There's no Brooklyn. Brooklyn didn't get established until, it's up here, 1646. Brooklyn, this was a town named Brooklyn. This was not Brooklyn. The Flatlands was the first land that the Dutch purchased. in 1656, the Flatlands. So this is the Rockaways, right? Now, I got this stuff written down. In 1636, the Flatland was purchased in Flatland, Long Island. In 1645, the next was Graves Inn, was the second. Graves Inn, what they call Brooklyn, Graves Inn, Long Island. In 1646, they established Brooklyn up here, this part, Brooklyn, Long Island, in 1646. Gowanus was the second, no, Gowanus was after Flatlands in 1636, Gowanus, what they call Brooklyn, Gowanus, Long Island, right? Then they had a historic battle that nobody tells you about. It's called the Battle of Long Island. Y'all Google it, it'll come up. It was during the Revolutionary War. Y'all remember 1776. We learned that in school, right? We learned of the Revolutionary War when the British was, when America colonized, when George Washington was battling the Brits to establish the 13 colonies of America, right? 13 tribes. You think it's symbolic, right? You think it's just coincidence, right? They tell us about the Battle of Bunker Hill and the Battle of America. This was the Declaration of Independence. I'm taking y'all on a history lesson right now. Now listen, but there was a big battle right after the Battle of Bunker Hill called the Battle of Long Island. Later, they renamed it in the history books the Battle of Brooklyn, but it's still Long Island. It's called Battle of Long Island. This was in 1776. It was huge. They lost. They got their butt whooped in the Battle of Long Island. They lost. Now, in 1790, George Washington took a tour of Long Island. And this is his tour route. See this map? And every dot is where he stopped. Jamaica, Long Island, Hempstead, Long Island. He didn't stop at Freeport. He stopped at Amityville, Long Island. And he went all the way up. Oh, it goes further. He stopped again in Montauk out there. He went also up here. It goes further up. He stopped in Roslyn, Long Island. He went up. And then he went up to Flushing, Long Island, which they now call Queens. Oh, they got Flushing. He stopped at Flushing, Long Island, right? So, and here, and this from Hempstead, St. George's Church. I got a story about this church when I was little. It was created in 1643. I'm like, St. George's Church is on this map. That's insane that it's still there. And St. George in Flushing, Queens, there's a St. James Church in 1734. But people in Hempstead know this church is still there now. Now I understand why they kept it there, St. George's Church. All right, now, so they created Brooklyn in 1646. All right, now there's this battle, this massacre, and later. Okay, so now let's get to it. That was enough of these history. Okay, so okay. Also, this is the Jamaica Bay, and this is I think it's called like the Hempstead Bay, and then the other one. These are Jones Beach. That became Long Beach, the beach, and this is Rockaway, Rockaway Beach, and that's Rockaway, and there you go. All right, so. All right, now, let me stop sharing. Okay, so let me come back so I can see you guys. Click on that. All right, let me switch that over. All right, now, Paul P., Connecticut checking in. We talking about Connecticut. Now, okay, so now we're going to do the where is it? Right here. Where they get their names. So I opened, Google. There you go. Let me show y'all. All right, let me share. This is the last share screen right here. Last share screen. All right. Present, share screen, share, Google, share. What was Brooklyn named after? Brooklyn. Breukelen, named after the Dutch town of Brooklyn. Brooklyn is located on the westernmost edge of Long Island. We're going to get this correct, everyone. Your history. You got to know your history or you won't know who you are. And shares a border with the borough of Queens, Long Island. It has several bridge and tunnel connections. Brooklyn, from the Dutch, is where it get it. Brooklyn's etymology is also really simple, as it's named after an ancient Dutch village in Holland called Brooklyn. It is made up of two words, broek, Dutch meaning marshland, and lid meaning small stream and peat area specifically. Brooklyn. That's where it comes from. The Dutch. The Dutch East India and West India Trading Company, these enslavers. All right, now, okay, so let me stop share. All right, now, let me come back. Let me do this. All right, now, so they had 3 counties. All right, Kings County, Queens County, and Suffolk County. That's Long Island East. Suffolk County is a county located on Long Island in the state of New York. It was named after the county of the Suffolk of England. Understand? Now, the Dutch colony of New Netherlands, when the English came, so what happened? The English finished conquering Massachusetts. Y'all heard of the Boston Tea Party, right? So when the English finished conquering Massachusetts, they came down and they found out that the Dutch found new land, Long Island, from the Native Americans, the 13 native tribes. So the English started to conquer the Dutch. They took over Staten Island, and then they came on to take over Long Island. Right, now, so when the English took over Long Island, they established 3 counties, right? And they named them all after them. So let's go to Kings County first. Let's do the County of Kings, because that was the first one that the English conquered and named. Kings County is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City located on the western end of Long Island. The name Kings County dates back to the 1600s when the region was part of the Dutch colony of New Netherland. I told y'all it was all called New Netherland first. The Dutch originally called this region Brooklyn after a town in the Netherlands, and the name eventually evolved into Brooklyn. When the British took control of the area in the late 1600s, they renamed the region to Kings County in honor of King Charles II of England. So Kings County, Brooklyn, is named after King Charles II of England, the king when they conquered it. The name Kings County was officially adopted in 1683 when the British colonial government reorganized the counties of the colony of New York. At the time, Kings County included not only the area that is now considered Brooklyn, but also parts of what are now called Queens and Nassau County. It was all Kings County. So Kings County was Queens, and there was no Nassau County then. There was only Kings County at first. Now, Queens and Nassau County are 2 of the counties that make up the western end of Long Island in the state of New York. The area that is now Queens County was originally part of the Dutch colony, the New Netherlands, and it was known as the Western Riding of Long Island. When the British took control of the area in the 1600s, they divided it into 3 separate counties: Kings, Queens, and Suffolk. Queens County was named after Queen Catherine, the wife of King Charles II of England. She was Queen Catherine of Braganza. So they named Kings County after King Charles of England II, and they named Queens County after Queen, the wife of the Queen of England, the wife of King Charles. The name Queens was officially adopted in 1683 when the British took and reorganized the colonies. Nassau County listen clearly, was created in 1899, almost 1900, right? So 1683, so for 200 years, there was no Nassau County. Hempstead and all that was Queens. Everything that's considered Nassau County. Nassau County was created in 1899 when it was split off from Queens County. The name Nassau was chosen in honor of William III of England, who was also known as William of Nassau. I never knew where Nassau County came from. I thought it was Nassau in the Bahamas or something. No, everything came from these enslavers, the UK. Now, William III of England was also known as William of Nassau. And so today, Queens County and Nassau County are both densely populated, whatever. All right. Queens County and Nassau County located on Long Island. Hold on, I got one more thing. Nassau County was created in 1899 when it was split off from Queens County. The creation of Nassau County was driven by several factors. The growth and population of the eastern part of Queens was so big that they split off and separated. So there was another one that says Nassau County was was part of the boroughs of I got too many tabs. I ain't gonna go through all that. But Nassau County was part of the 5 boroughs when they created the 5 boroughs. Nassau County was still in Queens. There was no Nassau County, it was Queens. So Hempstead was part of the 5 boroughs until they split and they created Nassau and split Queens. All right. Now Queens and Brooklyn was all the Long Island before the Dutch came and named them, right? And split and named them. All right. Now y'all have y'all history of New York, and y'all have the history of the Dutch, and y'all have the history of, and then Suffolk. Yeah, so Suffolk, hold on, last one. Suffolk County, the area of Suffolk County was initially part of the Dutch New Netherlands. It was the eastern riding of Long Island. When the English took control of the area, they reorganized it into 3 separate counties, Kings, Queens, and Suffolk. Suffolk County was named after the English county of Suffolk, which was the home of many of the settlers who moved to that area. That's where Suffolk County gets its name from. All of it, this is English names. All right, now let me come back and let's get started with the story. Now you've had your history lesson. Now, everybody, and those who like watching the stories of the crack era and the New York City and all of it, and know about Brooklyn and Queens, now y'all all just learned where it all come from. Shout out Charles. All right, Charles Coleman, shout out King. Now y'all know where it all come from. It all come from the Dutch, West India, and East India slave company who brought us over on slave ships. They came over and they massacred and raped and plundered the land, which the natives, which is still our people, not the Mongoloid Indians. Yeah, those Indians, when the first ones they got here, they looked like us. That's in the history books too. I ain't gonna go through, I do that on my ministry channel. Go to Uncle Yahshuah Mashiach Assembly Ministry on YouTube to learn the real fact, your real history, who you really are. Now, so these lands were always hostile to the people of the book, the so-called black people, right? The people in the scripture that had a curse put over them, right? So now, all of these lands that we're claiming is actually named after Dutch and English, and then some are Native American. All right, now, so because of this, and because of the curses, all of these lands in Brooklyn, Queens, Strong Island now we know the separate counties. Now I really know what this is all about. Now, here goes the story. Where am I at? What's my time? Not too bad. Only an hour, basically. All right, let's go. I needed the history. We needed it. All right. Shout out Baltimore Jama. Thank you, King. I know. Nobody knows the history, King. They have no idea how all this started. All right. Now, so, now we're going to rewind. We're going back in history when Unc was a little boy. Now, when I was a little boy in Hempstead, Strong Island, right? There was another little boy who lived by me. His name was Method Man from Wu-Tang Clan. Method Man is from Hempstead, Strong Island. He tells you that. They even did it in their little Hulu movie series, but they played it off. Of course they did. They tried to act like, they did a little bit of his little, and then, but his mom moved him to Staten Island. First, he started off for people who didn't know, some of my youngers who watched from New York, y'all didn't know Method Man, for people from Hempstead, he was from Circle Drive by Martin Luther King Drive. Meth used to live back there. I remember him, his sister, his family. Meth was the little boy, I remember Meth, who used to run around, and Meth always had snot in his nose. This is hilarious. And if you listen to his first album, Wu-Tang, he say, running nose, snot nose, or something. And when I laughed when I heard him rap that, because I don't know, maybe it was a condition or something. You know those little kids, guys, that you see that always got snot on their nose? They be sitting there every time you see them, like, boy, come here. You wipe your nose. Always got snotty nose. In the Martin comedy show, remember Martin, the little boy, he always had snot on his nose? Method Man was one of those. He always had snot on his nose. That's why he said never he had snot nose, something in his raps. He said it, right? So only Hempstead dudes would know that, because it's before we were little kids. He's a couple of years younger than me. Now, Meth used to play basketball, but he was really good at lacrosse. He put that in his Hulu series. That was Long Island we was playing lacrosse for. And Long Island was no joke with lacrosse. They taught us lacrosse because the white neighboring counties were good at lacrosse. So we were good at football, and then they taught us lacrosse. And lacrosse, you get to hit with a stick. So we like lacrosse. You get a stick and it's like football. You get to hit and tackle, but you got a stick and you can hit. So we learned lacrosse and we became good. So Meth was good at lacrosse. So anyway, now Hempstead, we a football city. Y'all remember my story with the football, right? So we a football. So Meth was too. So now in Hempstead, we had the New York Jets. Y'all remember my story with the New York Jets about the Huntington story. So the Jets became the Super Bowl champions in 19. They were the most famous Super Bowl football team of all times back then. The New York Jets with Joe Namath and Boozer Emerson and all the rest. Ernie Snell, I think it's Ernie Snell. I forget some of the name, but they were the most famous football. They were like Hollywood Joe. They were famous, like Pretty Boys and stuff, right? So. And the New York Jets was located in Hempstead. So they practiced at a place called Hofstra University, a college. And so they practiced at Hofstra University, right? And that's on the Heights, right by Granddaddy IU, where his house lived. It's a nice area right before you get to Uniondale, before you go and get to the Nassau Coliseum, the famous Nassau Coliseum where Lauryn Hill talked about, and Nas talked about at Nassau Coliseum and Lauryn Hill's song. The Nassau Coliseum, whatever. I got some stories coming about the crazy. Brooklyn and all that is crazy story. Nassau Coliseum. Anyway, so the Jets used to practice for the next coming football season at Hofstra College football field. So we, on Parkside Projects, we used to always go to the Jets practice. And Method Man used to go too. And Method Man told this story on Angie Martinez's show back in the days. He told this story. That's when I first heard him tell the story. And I was like, I didn't know that happened to Meth too, right? But I remember him, but he was a little younger than me. He hung with Butter in them. Right. Now, this before he moved to Terrace too. So Meth moved to Terrace Avenue, but before that, he's from Parkside. Meth Man's from Circle Drive. All right. Now, what we would do, guys, we would go to watch the Jets practice as little kids. I was, at this time, this story, I'm 7, 8 years old. Probably 8, right? I'm a little kid, 7 or 8, little. So we would go to watch the Jets practice because they would give us things. They would give us footballs, jerseys, all type of Jets memorabilia. They would feed us. We would get lunch when they would eat. because we would help them in the practice. So we would put the cones down. We would go fetch the footballs. We would the coach, they would give us jobs to do and we would do it, right? Now, before, when we would go to do the jobs, we would walk. Now we're little kids. So it would be a bunch of us. It might be 7 to 8, maybe 10 of us, and we would walk. And so it was probably like a 20-minute walk. Might even be a half an hour, because we had to walk from Parkside to the Heights, almost leaving. Now, the dangerous part is all of our areas were surrounded by white towns. And the whites would try to kill the black kids. It was very dangerous. Life and death dangerous. They had this thing called Igaball with an N. Nicka ball. I don't want to say the word. Igaball. The white people, white men, these weren't kids. These were older, they would be older teenagers and grown white men that would do this to us little kids. We're 7 and 8 years old. On Halloween, when we would go trick-or-treating, we would always have to be together in bunches and be on the swivel at all times, because the white neighboring towns would all converge to the black hoods, to him, I'm talking about for Hempstead. They would converge and they would all come in cars, bands of white boys in cars, to play Igaball with an N. Igaball meant we're walking with trick-or-treating, you got your bag of candy, and as you're walking, let me do this correctly. We walking, now remember this time. I'm going to tell the time of what I experienced a couple of times. We're walking, and we had the warnings, but you're having so much fun trick-or-treating that you forget. You forget that the danger, very dangerous. So we're walking. It's dark, because in New York in the winter, it get dark at 5 p.m., 5:30. So when we go trick-or-treating in New York, it's already dark, right? So it's nighttime. So we're walking, and we walking, and all I hear was, woo, and you hear everybody ah! I see people start running, and I turn and look, and all I see is this car flying, and I see this white boy stick his hand out, and a bat comes out the window. And what they call Igaball was they would ride and they would creep up on the little black kids walking for trick-or-treat on the sidewalk. And they would, when they get close to them, they would hit the gas, speed, roll the window down, and take a bat and try to hit the head of a little black kid in a car going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour with a bat. Igaball was them trying to take the head off. The game was to decapitate the little black kid, knock the head off his body with the bat. Hit it so hard with the speed of the car that the impact would knock the head off of his shoulders. You know how you play stick ball and you put the ball on the stick and then you hit it off? They called it Igaball. This was Hempstead Strong Island. So when we would go out trick-or-treating, we would have to keep eye. And another thing they would do is they would ride around on Halloween. And so Halloween was hunting season for them. They would hunt little black boys. On Halloween, they would ride around and they would also stick guns out the window. And they would ride and you would hear, niggas! And then a gun would come out the window, you go, boom, boom, and all the kids, we're all running and scattering in our Halloween costumes as little kids. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That was our reality back in the 70s on Strong Island. I'm quite sure Brooklyn, all of them went through different things. I've heard stories in the Bronx. This is what they would do. They would come into our neighborhood to hunt us down, the kids. Now, here we go. We're going to Hofstra, and Method Man told this story too, and Angie Martinez. So we would do this every day when they would practice. So this particular day, we're going. So now, as we walk to Hofstra, we have to leave kind of the comforts of the ghetto, the safety of the hood, and go into like Uniondale, where Busta Rhymes and them is from, Leaders of the New School, which was more half middle class. But back then, a lot of the whites were in there with the houses. And then Hofstra was right about to leave Hempstead, going into East Meadow and going into Uniondale and going into Levittown, the whites. So they would come. So we went, we walked, we got to the Jets football practice. Bang. We did the practice, everything fun. We having fun. We got all our stuff. They always feed us. They give us a bunch of memorabilia and stuff. So now we leave. So when we leave the Jets practice, now we got to walk the 30 minutes back to Parkside Projects in Hempstead. It's about 7 of us. We're ranging from age 7 to probably 12. I'm like 7 at this time, 7 or 8. So we're walking. Every time we left the Jets practice, even coming, but more so when we leave, because when we leave, it'd be later. It'd be later in the day after the practice. So we always get nervous when we leave because we got to make it home. And the white, that's good, the daughter of Yah, she said, Masha Yah, she says blood sacrifice. And the white men would stalk us and hunt us. So we would always keep an eye out and watch every car. As we cross the street, we watching any cars for the white man. I'm sorry that this is just reality. So my white brothers and sisters that's not negative, don't get triggered. It's just the truth. This is our reality. So this particular time, we walking home. So we got to walk up Hempstead Turnpike, and then we get to, I think it's Jack in the Box. I forgot the name of that restaurant that was there, right? I forgot. I don't think it was Jack in the Box. It was some restaurant that was there. And then we would turn down, because we try to take a shortcut to go to Parkside. So we would turn down those side streets. And those side streets have nice houses, and they're like almost in Uniondale. So it's like the whites still lived in those areas. This before it was fully over, now it's all black. But this is back then in the 70s, it was still some whites there. Now, so I remember we walking up Hempstead Turnpike, and that was dangerous because that's where it lead to East Meadow, where the jail at Nassau County Jail, and Levittown and all that, where all the whites come from. They fly down there to come from there, wilding in the cars. Bunch of cars, be like out the window, niggas! We would hear this all the time, guys. In the street, you'll just hear a car go, niggas! Shooting guns. They just had fun trying to kill us, right? Now, so we walking. So we wanted to get off. That's why, guys, I know some people like, why don't y'all just keep walking up Hempstead Turnpike and then turn? Because you didn't want to be on Hempstead Turnpike, because that was the street that the cars would, you'll see them, they would come up. So we would, once we got by that restaurant, I forgot what it was. I wish somebody from Hempstead could write and tell me what that was. I think it was Jack in the Box. We would turn down the side street so we'll be off the main street, Hempstead Turnpike. So now we come from the Hofstra. It's about 7 of us. We on Hempstead Turnpike. We walking up. So we getting up. We laughing, having fun, talking, and we just about to the restaurant where we're going to make the left turn, and from then we'll take all back streets. And we basically won't be on no main street, so we be safe relatively for the most part, unless on one of the back streets, one of those cars or white people see us, right? Now, this is our mission. Everywhere we go, we got to make it home safely. This is the reality that I lived in. We have to make it life or death. They're trying to kill us as kids. So now, we walking, we playing, we having fun, we walking. We almost at the restaurant, and all of a sudden, we hear, niggas, woo, and we look, and it's a car white. They out the car. They be all four windows. They be like, niggas, we gonna kill you, niggas. And we like, oh, and we just take off running. This, guys, is life or death. This is our reality. They're coming to kill us. We take off running. I'm little. I'm like the slowest, because I'm one of the youngest, and the older you get, the stronger and faster. And when we take off, we don't really run together. It's every man for himself. So we take off, and the car's coming. Woo! And they just yelling, niggas, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna kill you, and I'm like, now, I'm scared because I've lived this reality. They've killed some of my friends. I've seen my friends die. I'm gonna tell other stories that I've seen my friends die. I've seen dead bodies from a child. Okay? So, this is for real. It's life or death. So, I'm scared. And I run. And so, when the car is barreling down on us, so I'm like, I gotta get off the main street. So I hit the left when we got to the Jack in the Box or whatever restaurant that was. I hit the left. Boom. And I think that's called Williams. I forgot the name of that street that's right there. I hit the left. Boom. And when I hit the left, and a couple of us hit the left, and some of them went straight, some of them, like, we split up. So the car like, woo. So then I hit the left, boom, and I'm running. And then all of a sudden, I hear the car turn the corner. And I'm like, I look back, I'm like, shit. Right? I'm like, they coming after me. It's about 3 of us running. And I'm being left because they're faster than me. So I'm like 7 years old, I'm running, and I look back, and I'm like, and the car's like, catch that nigga. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, so I'm running, and the car's running, and it's like, ooh, and it's getting closer. And I'm running, I'm looking back, and like, we're gonna kill you. And I'm running, and so I look, and I'm like, they're about to catch me. So I turn and I cut through this yard. I make a right? They are a little further back, right? So, and they barreling down, and I make the right, and I cut through this yard. And so when I cut through this yard, there's a fence. So I hit the fence, and I climb the fence, and I jump over. So I jump over. Now they're a little further back, right? They barreling down, so I cut through the yard. And when I cut through, I hit the fence, and I jumped over the fence. Now, I go, and there's a tree, there's a big tree in the yard. The yard is big. So I run, and I'm like, I don't know where to go, right? So I run, and the yard it's like empty, open, and there's a big tree. So I run to the tree, and I look up, and I wanna grab the tree and climb up in the tree and hide in the tree, but I can't reach the branch. It's too high. So I don't know what to do. I'm young. So I just hide behind the tree. I just try to hide. So then I hear the car screech, and it stopped, and the door's open, and they're like, where the nigga go? Where he go? And it's like he went in one of these yards. He's like, we're gonna find you, nigga. We're gonna find you. we're gonna kill you, nigga. Like they're taunting me. So sorry for the N-word. I just gotta keep it, you know me. It's just, this is the truth. I guess I'm in the space now. It's not okay. This is traumatizing. So they're like, we're gonna kill you, Igga. We're gonna kill you, Igga. So I turn to the other. I'm like scared. I'm a little kid. So I'm hiding and I don't know what to do. I can't run. I don't know what to do. So I hear him like, you go in that yard. You go take that yard. So they separate. So I'm like, oh man. So I'm scared. I'm too scared to run. I'm scared, guys. So I just stay there shaking. And I'm on the side of the tree. And all of a sudden, I hear, and I peek my head out the side of the tree, and a dog walks on the other side of the house, from the other side of the house to the backyard. And I hear, so I guess he was on the other side of the house in the front. I jumped on this side. So he came and I hear, and I look and I see his head and he steps his body around and he's looking at me going, and I'm like, it's a Doberman Pinscher. I meant to grab an image of a Doberman to show y'all. For some people don't know, a Doberman Pinscher is the dogs that was popular in the 70s. It was a German Shepherd and a Doberman Pinscher. You either had a big German Shepherd, these dogs are huge, or you had a Doberman. They're big. Dobermans are black, shiny. They look just like Rottweilers, but like skinny, but big. But not skinny where they're small, they're just streamlined. Rottweilers are big and huge, and Dobermans are fast. They're like big greyhounds, but black. And they look just like Doberman, but with a skinny, Snoop Dogg turned into a Doberman in the Snoop Doggy Dogg music video. Snoop Doggy, that was a dog. He looked like a Doberman with his face. Snoop Doggy Dogg. Now, and you either had a Doberman or German Shepherds, and Dobermans were more wicked because German Shepherds were trained. They were easy. German Shepherds were loyal. They were called German Shepherds because the Germans used them to hunt people down and stuff, right? So, but Dobermans, yes, they were scary like pit bulls are now. I say, yeah, absolutely. Dobermans were more dangerous because Dobermans were mean. Dobermans had an attitude. They had like a personality. So they were mean. Dobermans was no joke. All right. They have an old movie about dogs called Doberman, something they were killer dogs. They had a whole movie over them. So anyway, it was a Doberman and it was big. So I'm standing on the tree, right? And all I hear is, so I peek out the side of the tree. And his Doberman, his rest of his body came around. And he's standing there looking at me going, and I'm like, I look at him, he look at me. I look to the left, and there's more yard to the last fence. I look back at the Doberman. The funny thing was, guys, I looked at him, he looked at me. I looked at the fence, he looked at the fence. I looked back at him, he looked back at me. And he started walking, taking steps. I look, I'm like, I got to go. I said, boom, I took off. He said, and he took off. Whoo! So he took off, I took off from the tree. So I'm running and he's running across. Like I'm here, I'm running from the tree, he's over here. I'm running towards here, the fence is back here. I'm running, he took off. It's like this. He's like, and he's coming and I'm like, I'm running and he took off. Shoo, shoo, shoo. And I'm like, I'm running for my life, God. I'm run. And he's getting close. I'm like, he's like nailing me. He's getting there. And then I jump and I grab the fence. Boom. And when I grabbed the fence and I went to pull up, he jumped. And grabbed the back of my leg and my pants. And he started, and I'm like, I'm screaming. I scream, and I try to pull a fence, and he's trying to pull me down, and he's pulling on my leg, and I'm like, and the blood is dripping on my leg. He's pulling on me. So I just reach, and I just like, boom, and I kick. And so when I kick, and I hit him. When I kick, I kicked him, and he like let go for a second, and I tried to take another one, and he grabbed again. So as I kicked, I pulled up one more thing, and he jumped up again and grabbed, but this time he grabbed the bottom of my foot, and he grabbed it, and I like, and I snatched. He had me. He was trying to pull me down, and I snatched my foot out of my sneaker. That's what I snatched my foot out of my sneaker. Woo! And then he fell down from him trying to pull on me. He fell, and I grabbed up, and I got to the top of the fence, and then I just fell over the fence. I fell over. Whoa! Boom! And I hurt my arm. Boom! I'm like, oh! And I was laying there, and I looked, and he was like, he's just ripping my sneaker up, ripping it apart, ripping. I'm like, and I was just laying there, and I'm looking at him. He's drooling and just ripping the sneaker up. And I'm like, So then I got up, because I'm like, it ain't over. You know? These guys are still, they still here. So I got up, and I'm like, and I got, now I got no shoe. I got a sock on. I got one shoe, and my arm is like hurting, like it's almost broke. So I'm like, I run and I go out, and I can hear them like, what was that? They was like, that was a dog. It was like, I think he was in this yard. I think he was in the yard with the dog. So then I'm like, so I get to the street, and I'm like, what do I do? So I was thinking, I'm like, okay. They knew I was going that way, so they probably going to go that way and come back up. So I said, I got to fake them out. I'm like, maybe I'll go this way. I said, all right. So I went to the right to head back towards Hempstead Turnpike, towards where IU live on the other side with the nice houses. So I went back this way, and I got like a couple of houses before the corner, and I hit another yard. I'm like, I gotta hit another yard. So what I did, when I got to that yard, I kicked the fence. I started kicking on the fence. I'm kicking the fence, and I hear nothing. I'm kicking the fence. I hear nothing. So I climb up the fence, and I climb down, and then I go to that yard, and then I get to it. I'm like, I need to keep going. So I climbed over that fence. And I can hear them. I can hear the car on the other street when I climb through that fence. Woo! Like, and then I can hear somebody else like, he's somewhere around there. Find him. And then so when I climbed that fence, I went to the next street, and I said, let me go. I went back down 2-3 more houses, and I hit another fence. And I climbed that. And I went into that one, and I climbed that fence. First, I made sure I shook the fence and all that, no dog. I climbed that fence. And that fence, they had a garage. And I went and I hid, and they had a garage, and they had like a little skinny spot, which another house and like trees and stuff, like woods. And so I went and I hid in between the garage and the trees and woods. And I went and I hid, and I laid there. And I just stayed there shaking and crying. I was scared. And I could hear them, where is he? I could hear keep driving up. We can't find him. We're going to find you, Igga. We're going to find you. And they just kept going. Then I could hear somebody walking. Then another car pull up. They pull up, and they go on the next street, and I could just hear them circling. And it's like, where is he? He around here somewhere. And then I could hear their voices in the car going further and further away. It was getting further and further away. And I would just lay there. And I knew not to move, though. And I just stayed there. I stayed there till late at night. I laid by that tree in between that house and that garage in the wood little dirt area, bugs and stuff crawling all over me, all type of stuff. I just stayed there. I stayed there till maybe 11 o'clock at night. And it was probably like 5:30 p.m. when this started. And I stayed there all night. And I got in trouble. And I think my grandmother probably beat my butt. But I explained to her, I don't know, she might not have beat me at that time. Because my grandmother, she was mean, but she understood. I don't think she beat me that time. Because she would console me when things really traumatic would happen. She wouldn't beat me. She would like make me a good meal. She never hugged me or anything, but I knew she loved me. But I knew she loved me. She would like make me a good meal and, not yell at me or nothing. I stayed till like 11 o'clock at night. And then I was so scared. And then I walked out and I had to jump the fence. And a little 8-year-old little boy, I had to walk almost a half an hour. Now listen, home, scared, and this story ain't over, scared of seeing another band of these crazy, because they would hunt black people at night. I guess they would get drunk or high and ride around trying to play Igga ball or find a black person to kill. They would ride around with guns too and would shoot you. So, and sometimes you wouldn't know them. They would see you from far back and they would be ready and you would just hear boom and shooting guns. You would run and they would shoot people. So I had to make it home. And it was so scary because it was so late at night. And there's another thing, I'm going to tell another story where back in the days in New York, I can only speak for us, at least on Strong Island, at least in Hempstead, we had wild dogs all over the streets. Packs of dogs. They would be in a dog pack. So you would be walking. I got some stories coming. Oh my goodness. Everybody know. My people from Hempstead, West, they know what I'm doing. We all been. You would be walking and all of a sudden let's say we all walking in a crew. All of a sudden you see turn the corner, 20 dogs, a pack of dogs. They would turn the corner and they would be like, and they would just take off. Wild dogs was everywhere. Wild dog. They didn't have a home. They weren't what they call that home when you put them in a home and I forgot their name they call that. Oh no, they were wild packs of dogs. All the time. You would either jump on a car or a tree. The only thing you got, or a fence, you better hope they have a dog in that fence. A tree or a car. And if you get the wrong pack, they'll learn to jump on the car. That was later, before they didn't know to jump on the car. But we get on the roof of a car and a tree. You really want a tree. Pack of wild dogs. So I'm worried about a pack of wild demons, wild adversaries, these wild white serpent seeds. Not the regular white people. We have different classes. These are demonic white people. You have demonic black people too. But these demonic white people, serpent seeds, and wild packs of wild dogs. So I'm taking all back streets at 11 o'clock at night. And I know my grandmother's worried thinking I'm kidnapped or something. And I finally made it home. All right. Now, this ain't over. That was one story of my traumatic childhood. Method Man was on Angie Martinez. And he said something about I'm from Hempstead. She said, you from Long Island, Hempstead? He said, yeah, Tigers. That's our football team, Hempstead Tigers, right? So Tiger, our football team is legendary. So he's like, Tigers. He said, yeah, I'm from Hempstead. He said, Terrace Ave was the first place he had a gun. He was robbed. He had a gun stuck in his face. And his mom knew that he would be killed staying in Hempstead. So she moved him to his family out in Staten Island. And that's how he became Wu-Tang and met them. So I'm glad his mom did it, changed his whole life. Because Hempstead is lethal. So nobody makes it out of Hempstead. Y'all remember my last story? Nobody makes it out. Unless you move away. Even the famous Dr. J had to move away, move to Roosevelt. and made it. All right. Now, jury serving. So, Method Man was on Angie Martinez, and I got another story coming. Just hold on, guys. Method Man was on Angie Martinez, and he told the story. And I'm listening. I'm in the car listening. This was Wu-Tang was huge. Method was the big star. And he said, yeah. He said, I'm from Hempstead. He said, Hempstead was crazy. He said, I remember when we was little. He said, we used to go and we used to help the Jets play practice at Hempstead at Hofstra University. Method Man said this. He said, we used to watch the Jets play at Hofstra University. He said, but Angie, he said, when we would leave the practice, we would have to walk back home. And Meth was from Parkside, from Circle Drive by Martin Luther King Drive. He said, we would get chased by bands of white boys trying to kill us. He said, I remember I got chased and I was running for my life and they was trying to kill me and I was hiding in people's backyards. And I remember I heard the story. I was like, damn, Meth, you too? And I'm like, and I remember his generation right after me, we all would do it. But I never knew that he got chased too, like I did. And he told that story on Angie Martinez. He said they was trying to kill me. They was in the car and I had to hide in people's backyards. And I remember this was way back then when Meth told that story on Angie Martinez. All right, now, that was one story. This next story, I'm a little older. I'm about 10 years old, maybe 11. We had this thing, we're poor little black kids in the hoods, in the projects. So we had this thing where we couldn't get the regular things that normal kids get. Like we couldn't get bicycles and stuff like that. So at that time, because our people were poor, at that time, we were bad, we were little kids, bad little kids in the hood. We would go and we would steal bikes. So we would get together and what we would do is we would walk. I know that y'all gonna think I'm crazy. We were daredevils. We would go into the neighboring towns, the white people towns, because they had all the money. And the white people, the white kids in their towns, they would just leave their bikes outside on the street because they had money, so they don't care. And if you had a bike in the projects, you had a Schwinn. There was no, what they call them other bikes. There was no, well, Huffy came out later, but there was none of them, what they call those bikes that people ride with the pegs on there was none of those. There was a Schwinn and a 10-speed. A 10-speed bike, but Schwinn was the ish. If you had a Schwinn, you had a Mercedes-Benz, a Schwinn bike, right? Now, so the little white kids, they had all type of Schwinns and 10-speeds and all type of the expensive, because they were rich, They weren't cursed. We were cursed, right? So the white kids, when you go to a white neighborhood, the bikes would just be laying in their front yard. Like they would just leave it and run in the house and it'd be out there all night, right? They would go in the house and go to sleep, right? Yeah, thank you, Paul P. No mongooses. That's what I was thinking of. Thank you, Paul P. No mongooses, none of that. It was Schwinns and 10-speeds. If y'all see it now, it looked like the bikes that the dudes ride in Cali. They hook them up now and stretch them long, but those type of bikes you would ride on. But anyway, and they had the gray and silver and the red and yellow Schwinn was the best ones. Right, I never had a Schwinn, but I had a stolen one. But so we would go into the neighborhoods. We would go to Baldwin, Long Island, and we would go to other way was Rockville Center and Lynbrook, where they did the Everybody Loves Raymond story, and we would go to East Meadow, but we would not go to East Meadow too much. That's where they would chase. We wouldn't go to East Meadow too much because that's when most of the white boys come from to kill us, right? So, but we would go to Baldwin and Rockville Center and the other way, right? So at this particular time, we're going to get bikes because every now and then, one of our bikes would break down so bad that we need a new bike. But we can't get a new bike. Our parents don't got money. Ain't nobody gonna buy you no bike. So I think somebody needed a bike, right? One of us. So we all looked out for one another. We all took care of. So somebody needed a bike. So what we would do is we would double up on the bike. So I get on the bike, right? Because Schwinns have a seat. It's a long seat. So it's not like a A mongoose is something where you ride one with one little seat, like a 10-speed bike, right? Or a mountain bike. A swim bike, it got a seat. It's a long seat, and it got a sissy pole in the back. Sometimes you'll have a long sissy pole. That was when you had a cool bike. So it could be two of y'all sitting on the seat. So someone gets behind you, and y'all riding on the bike. So you always ride somebody on the bike. It wasn't like they had to stand on pegs. So what we would do is we would get on the bike, and you would put somebody else on the back, so that when we go to try to get a bike to steal, the person jump off the bike and they go steal the bike, and now they got a bike and you ride. So we would double up. So at this time, we're going to get one bike. So we only had one person doubled up on somebody's bike. I don't know who it was. Somebody doubled up, right? So we go into Baldwin. We're going to get a bike. So we would drive into Baldwin, and you would take the street. I forgot the name of the street, but it's where the cemetery is. I know, right? The cemetery. And we would drive, and you go past, then it's a hill, and you go over the hill, and you go into Baldwin. And Baldwin got a park up there. And Baldwin, back then, it was all whites. Now it's more blacks because the whites kept going further out towards Suffolk County, right? The white flight. Blacks kept pushed, the whites kept moving further away. But at this time, Baldwin is white, rich, they got money. And poor whites, but more money than us. Nobody was poor as black people back then. So we driving, right? We riding. So we go on to Baldwin. Now, first of all, it's already dangerous, guys. So you already know the story, right? So we know this. This is our reality. But this is the chance we took. This is our life. So we drive to Baldwin. We driving, we in deep in Baldwin, right? We in there. So we going up streets. So what we would do is we would drive through streets to try to find a house that got a bike in the yard, right? That somebody got a bike. Or we would go to Baldwin Park and try to see if someone's left their bike. One of the little white kids left their bike while they playing basketball in the park, and we'll sneak up and jump on the bike and take off. So this time we went to Baldwin Park, but there was no bike there for us. So we went, and we was going down the street. So we're going down the street, and we see a bike in the yard. So we stop. We like, that's a bike. So we all ride up, and we go to look at the bike. We look and like, ooh, it's pretty because they got money. See, yeah, we got put together bikes. We make bikes from parts. Like we take parts in exchange. So our bike look like erector sets. You know what I mean? We make it work though, right? We got put together bikes, right? They got shiny, brand new bikes. You know what I mean? So it's like a brand new Mercedes Benz. So he's like, woo! I'm like, I want that. Everybody want that. I'm like, oh, but the one who gonna get it is the one who came to get it, right? So it's like, crap, I want that bike. I'm like, so we go, we look, we like, all right. So we first thing we have to do, we have to scout it out, right? So we have to go past and we have to look to make sure ain't nobody in the yard or nobody's looking or nothing, because just to be in their neighborhood, black kids, we're running an insane risk because they will kill us, right? If we see crazy white men or a gang of white boys, it's over. It's over, right? So we drive past and we look, and the whole block seems quiet, and the bike is in the yard. And it's like, so the person's front door is open, but they got a screen door. But it's open, but we don't see nobody. So we go up a little, and when we went up a little to turn around. We went up a little, I remember looking, and I seen, so people usually have their front door open with their screen open because it's summertime, with their screen open. And I remember when we went to turn around, I looked in somebody's house, and I seen a white man look at me. He looked, because he was like sitting on his couch. And his couch, I guess he could see outside. And he looked at me. And I looked at him, and I'm like, but I didn't say anything. So we turned, and we started going back towards the bike. And I'm like, that white man saw me. And I'm like, but I still didn't say anything. Stupid. So we turn and we go back and they're like, all right, we about to get it. We about to get it. So we go, and when we go, he gets off the bike, he goes into the yard, and he goes and he grabs the bike. So we being quiet. So he grabs the bike, and when he goes to pick it up, you hear boom. You hear a screen door open and slam. And I look, and it's a little white boy. He probably like 10, 11 years old. He like, that's my bike. And he starts screaming, he's stealing my bike. These niggas, sorry, that's what he said. These niggas stealing my bike. And I'm like, so he started to run, and my man grabs the bike. I forgot who it was, Joe or somebody. He grabs the bike and picks it up. And when he picked it up, he tried to get on it, and he tried to take off, and the white boy grabbed him and grabbed the bike. So he's fighting and pulling, and he's trying to pull him. He's dragging the white boy. He drags him out into the street, and we on the bike. We're like, come on, but we don't want to leave him. And so all of a sudden, you see people start coming out their house. And I'm like, we like, yo, come on, grab him, pull it. And we drag him, and the white boy won't let go. And he pulling, and I'm like, we're like, yo, let the bike go. And all of a sudden, all of the man comes out the house, right? So the man comes out the house, and so my man tries to drop the bike and try to run to us. And so the white boy grabbed him, and they started like fighting. So I'm like, so the man comes out of the house and like, what y'all doing out? And then I look, and I see people coming up the street. So I'm like, and I seen a guy that I seen in the house come out his house. And so I get off my bike and I run to my friend and I try to help him so I can get him to let him go. We trying to get the white boy, let him go. He's like, no. And he fighting. I'm like, I'm trying to pull him. So as I'm trying to pull him, my man gets loose. And when my man gets loose, he runs. He runs. So now the white boy grabbed me. So I'm like fighting, touching the white man. And I look at my man, he runs and he gets on my bike. So he runs and he gets on my bike. So as me and the white boy tussling, the bike is right there. So we tussling and everything, So then I look at my man, I'm like, dude, I got off to help you. And he gets on my bike. So everybody's waiting. They're like, come on, JJ, right? That's my little young name. So I'm like, they're like, come on, JJ. So I'm like, for those who know the real name, I ain't trying to give people my name. Those from my childhood, they know my real little nickname. Right? So like, come on, JJ. So I'm like, yo, help, get him off me. So then the father came up. So when the father got there, he grabbed us both. He's like, break it up, stop. So he pulled us apart. So he's holding him and me. So I'm like, get off me. He's like, what you doing? You trying to steal a bike? You're going to jail. I'll keep you here till the police come. So I'm like, I wasn't trying to steal a bike. I was trying to help him get him off my friend. He said, yes, you was. You're trying to steal a bike. So I'm like, get off me. So he let his son go, and then he holding me. And I'm like, get off me. So I snatched out of his hand. I'm like, get off me. He's like, you trying to steal the bike? He said, I'm going to call the cops on you. Your mother know that you out here trying to steal a bike? So I'm like, no, I wasn't trying to steal a bike. I wasn't stealing a bike. And then I look and I see a mob of the white boys, of the whites coming up the street. And they're like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. And so the father is facing me, but he don't see what's behind him. But I can, because I'm facing them. So I'm looking, I look, and I'm like, and they're coming. And then I can see them, they got bats and sticks. And I'm like, and he's like, why would you steal a bike? He said, all you have to do, I guess he was a good white man, right? He's like, all you have to do is just get a job. Why don't you just go get a newspaper route? He said, you deliver newspapers, you can buy a bike. He said, there's no future in stealing. He said, if you steal, then you're going to get a record. He said, I was going to call the cops, but he realized I was listening to him. Because I didn't tell y'all, but my ministry, I told the ministry I was a sponge. I would always listen to elders. That's why I'm so wise. I learned so much. So as he was speaking, I was listening. And he seen me listening. And that's why he said, I was going to call the cops on you. He said, but if I do that, then what will your future be? You're going to start your future off with a criminal record. He said, have you ever had a job? I said, no. I said, I would like to get a job. He said, you could get a job. He said, I own a company. I own a construction company. If you was old enough, I would hire you. He said, they have a thing. He said, look up newspaper routes. When I was a little boy, I sold lemonade. I sold newspapers. I sold candy. He said, you can work and you can buy your own bike. And I'm looking at him. He said, you understand? I said, yes. He said, you don't have to steal. He said, work and then it's yours. And you never have to worry about it. He said, you hear me? I said, yes. And I look and they coming. And the next time I looked, he turned around and he looked. And he looked back. And I said, I'm sorry, mister. And I took off. I turned around and I took off. And when I ran, all my boys, they was like, come on, JJ, come on, JJ. And I ran, and when I took off to run, I hear them say, get that nigger. And the crowd, they started running. And the man looked at me. I took off, ran. He said, grab the bike, go. And I ran and I jumped on the bike, his son's bike. And I took off. And when I got on the bike, my boys had already took off. They was like, come on, JJ. And that man said, go. And I ran and I jumped on the bike and I took off. But when you first get on the bike and you start pedaling, it's slow. You got to gain your speed. So when I took off, by the time I got on the bike and I'm trying to pedal, remember I'm little, I'm only 10. The big, it's like a big 18, 19, he running one, he had a stick. He was close. And he was like, so when I got it, by the time I got to the bike, got on, he was like, get that nigga. He had a stick and he tried to swing it. And I'm like, so I took off and I felt the wind of the swing and I'm looked back, I'm like, damn, he was right there. So as I'm trying to pedal, I'm trying to go, he's getting closer and he's swinging the stick. He's like, we'll get you. And I'm like, so I'm all my might, I'm hitting that, I'm pushing that bike. And so now I'm pushing the bike and he's running. And now the whole crowd is catching me. And they like, grab him, hit the tire. So I'm like, and my crowd, my boys is way up there like, go, JJ, go. So I'm running, I'm going, and now I got my speed. So I'm like, and I took off, and so I took off, and he threw the stick, boom, and it hit the back tire. And the stick, when it hit the back tire, the bike went, and it like fishtailed, and it started to, and I'm like, for dear life, I'm like, please don't fall. Like, now I know this is the Most High. The Most High been protecting me all my life. Now I know this is him. This is Yah, guys. That's his name, by the way. His name is Yah. It's in the scripture. It's in Psalms. It says Yah, but there's no J in Hebrew. And remember, these were Hebrews. His name is Yah. All right, now, I didn't know this though, but this was the Most High. It hit the bike, the back, and it started fishtailing. And I'm like, please don't fall. That's the only thing I was thinking, like, don't fall, don't fall. And as I'm fishtailing, I'm going slower, and they're catching up. And he's like nipping at the back of my shirt, and then I regained the balance, and I hit it, took off, and I started leaving him. And he was like, nigger. He was like, we're gonna get you. And he was like, and I took off, and I was like, F you! You know, we little bad kids. I said, F you! I'm sorry that I can't say the F word. It would be more. I said, F you, right? So I took off, and I'm like, whew, and they're going, they're like, go, JJ, go! And I took off, I'm like, y'all go. So we going. So they start to slow up, because we boys, we keep on it. So they start to slow up, so I could catch up. So I caught up. So all of a sudden, we going, right? So we flying. They slow up. They were like, yo, that was close. So we flying. Now, we got to drive from Baldwin, right? So we had to go from Baldwin over the bridge. Then we got to go down that long street where the cemetery is. Then we got to cut down this. We got a long way to go. So we take off. We going. All of a sudden, so when I leave him, and I take off, he's like, we're going to catch you niggas. And my boy slowed up. We heard him say, go get the cars. And I'm like, shit. We look back, and they all started running back towards their houses. So we took off. We riding. We like, they about to come back. They about to get in their cars. So we're riding as fast and as hard as we can. So we riding. We want to get to the bridge. We need to at least get out of Baldwin. Like, we got to get out of Baldwin. But we're screwed, dude, because it's so far that we got to go. And there's really no yards to cut in for a while, because the cemetery, so with this street, the cemetery, Greenfield Cemetery in Hempstead, is long on this side. And then this side is a whole bunch of empty stuff. And then there's a big school. I forgot the name of that school that the Uniondale guys go to. I forgot, Lawrence Road School and all that, right? It's a field, a football field, so there's nowhere to run and hide, right? So we going, right? So we get almost near the bridge. So as we go on, we keep looking back, and all of a sudden we get to the bridge. We feel a little better, because at least when we get over the bridge, we in Hempstead. We get to the bridge, and as we go up, we keep looking back, and you hear, oh, you can just hear the engines roaring. Like, oh, shit, they coming. So we tired now too, guys. So we just trying to hit it. So as we hit it, now we got to go up the bridge, up a hill. So our bikes are slowing down because we're tired, and we're going uphill. So as we're going uphill and slowing down, it's like 7 carloads of white boys. It's like them old racist movies when they show the South, and they show them like, yeah, you know, the cowboys. All you hear is like them screaming and hands out the car and sticks out the car. They like, get him, catch him. I'm like, oh my goodness, we are dead, dude. We are dead. Guys, they would kill you, literally. They would kill us. Literally. Yeah. It's very, 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 very real. And these laws, they didn't have all the laws that they have now. They would kill you and get away with it. That's this back in the 70s, guys. They would kill you and get away with it. There was no prosecution and stuff like that. Literally. They would pay for lawyers and get probation or something for killing one of us, killing little black kids. So we're gone. We're going up the hill. They're barreling down on us. By the time we get to the top of the hill, I look back and I can see their faces. That's how close they are. And I can see like the joy on their face that they're about to catch us. We take off. Now we get to the top of the hill. We're like, when we get to the bottom of the hill, we're gonna like split off. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to, this is what I was thinking. When we get there, I'm going to drop my bike and jump over the fence and jump and go into the cemetery. That's what I'm thinking. Because the cemetery is huge. And they can't get their car, so they're going to have to run. So that's what I was thinking. I don't know what they were thinking, but I was like, when we get across this thing, I'm dropping my bike, I'm jumping the cemetery fence, and I'm running, because if I can get this huge, it's a mile long that you're going to get to the other side. That's Greenwich Street that leads you to Uniondale and Roosevelt. So I'm like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm dropping this bike, because they going to catch us in this car. At least on the foot, I got a better chance in the cemetery. So we get to the top of the hill. I look back, I could see their eyes. And they're like, just the joy in their eyes, like, we got them. We got them. They do got us. A bike can't outrun a car. Impossible. So now we at the top of the hill, we go down. Downhill, you get speed, right? So we hit it. Downhill. Ooh, everybody. So we flying now. Shoom, we going downhill. And the car coming over the hill. They come over the hill almost like a Western movie, flying in the air. Like they come over the hill doing 9,000 miles an hour. So we flying down the hill, and here go their cars. Woo, one by one. Shoom, shoom, shoom. Niggas. All you hear is screaming. So we flying. We get from the bottom of the hill, and we going. We're taking off. So the first couple of cars is, because it's a wide lane, they driving on both sides. So the first couple of cars starts to barrel down on our bikes. So we flying. And I'm looking back, and I'm like, I'm just trying to make it, because there's a little way, by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, there's a little way that you got to go before the fence, the fence, the yard. It's like cement and then a steel spikes that leads over. You got to jump over it to get into the cemetery. So I'm trying to go fast as I can so I can get to that part so I can jump over into the cemetery. So I'm hitting it as fast as I can. But the cars are barreling down. The first two, they're barreling down on our back tires. Like they coming fast in a car against a bike. And they're gonna hit our bike. That's what they want to do. They want to knock us off. They're gonna hit the bike with the car to run us over or knock us off. Right? So we pedaling for life, dear life. So as we pedaling, the car is barreling down like this. We're pedaling. When you get to the part that you get to the wall where you could jump over the cemetery, there's another part where when to the left, there's a firefighters. There's a place where the Hempstead Fire Department, they train for fire to make it into the fire academy. Like you go to police academy, so they have and then they have drag racing there too. But they have this big thing where they do firefighter competition stuff there. So it's like a big field and a big thing, and it's a big strip where they drag race and they do this firefighter drag race and fire trucks and all this competition, this big thing. So when you go past, because it's like over the bridge, when you go over the bridge for Baldwin, it's trees on both sides. But then when you go over, it's still trees and stuff. And then once you get past the trees, that firefighter thing is to the left, and to the right is the cemetery. So soon as now I'm trying to get to the cemetery so I can jump over the thing. So soon as we get past the bushes and the car's barreling down on us, soon as we get to the point where you get in the open and past the bushes, I look and someone says, "The police!" And I look and there was 2 cops parked. You know how cops park their car where one is this way, one is that way, and they be talking to each other from the driver's side, from both driver's side? On that little strip that they drag race, it usually be cops there because people drag race coming from Baldwin too. Drag race down that strip going to Lawrence Road. So cops usually be there. So when we hit right before I can get to the cemetery, one of my boys that was further up, because they was in head, they was like, "The police, the cops, and the police are there." And when I got up, I looked, I was like, and they'd be like, "Help!" They start screaming, "Help!" And so we're ahead of the car, so the car's like, woo, they coming, and we get ahead, and then they like, "Help!" So they beeline and they turn their bikes to go to where the cops are. And so when they turn, I look and I'm like, "The cops!" So I turn my bike. I forget jumping in the cemetery. We turn and we all turn our bikes. So by the time the cars come, they go, woo, they come down. And when they come down, by the time they get past the bushes, they see the police. And they see we going to the police. And some of them scared. They scared. And we go to the, we rush in our bikes and we still ride. We had a little way to ride, but the cops are right there. And one is facing us so they know the cops can see us. So we ride, because we still got a little way to go to turn, because it's a fence to turn to that street to go where the cops are. So we ride, and when we ride, some of them scared, and they start like crashing into one another. And then the other one that went around the pile up, because a bunch of them, so they start to pile up their cars and they crashed into one another. And then the other ones, to avoid the crash, went around the crash. And so they went around and they were going fast. So they flew past. Woo! They like shoo! They cars, you can see cars flying past. Shoo! This one car fly past on this side. Shoo! And you hear others. You just hear pile ups crashing and they flying, and the other ones who missed the pile-ups are flying past. And so when the first one flew past, you could hear woo, and then another one, you hear the cops like, and then they see us and we yelling, "Help, the police!" So the cop and they threw their light on, woo, and the car flew off. And then by the time my boys ran to the cop, it was like, "Help, they're trying to kill us, they're trying to kill us." And so the other police, so the one cop that was facing them, he took off, boom, and chased the cars that were flying, because they were doing like 90. He took off, boom, and then the other cop, he stayed with us. He's like, "Well," he's like, "They're trying to kill us, don't leave." Don't. So by the time I got to the car, so I got to the car, I like to jump in that cop car window, I swear. You know the funny thing, guys, you know how much we don't like police? Oh, the devil a lie. I like to went in that cop car. He was like, "Stop, I'm not going to leave y'all." Because they were like, don't leave. We were pulling on his car. But he was like, "I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay with y'all." By the time I got to that cop car, I jumped off my bike and I like to dive through the window. I'm like, let me in. He's like, "No." He's like, "No, I'm not going nowhere." I'm like, "Let me in." And he opened the door. He got out. He's like, "Y'all calm down. I'm not going to leave y'all. I was like, oh my goodness, dude, these are white cops. He was like, "I'm not going to leave y'all. Calm down. So by the time I got there and everything, I tried to jump in the car. He grabbed me. He said, calm down. My heart beating out my chest, because I was one of the last ones. They was going to hit me first, because I was the slow. I was the last one to pull off. And when they let me catch up, they still was ahead of me. They just let me catch up to them some, right? And so I was scared the most, because they was going to hit me first. I was going to be the first one, and I was the one they was really after. Well, it was after us all. It didn't matter. But he grabbed me, the white cop, he grabbed me and he hugged me. And he could feel my heart was like beating out of my chest. He's like, calm down, calm down, calm down. I'm not going to leave you. Calm down. And I'm sweating. I'm like, and then I started to calm. I said, you sure? You sure? He's like, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to leave. And then he got in the thing. He said, we got to such. We need backup. We need backup. And he called the other cops. And that other one, the one cop took off after them who took off. And then the other cars, you could hear them turning around and going back over the bridge into Baldwin. And they smiled, smash, bang, crash them up, pile up. They banged up all their cars. And so then the cop, he stayed with us. The other cops came, you know what I mean? We told them what happened. And then all the cops, they took our bikes and they put our bikes in their trunks. They put our bikes in the trunks of their car and they put each of us in the cop cars. They put each of us in the car. They put a bunch of us in the back seat, about 4 or 5 cop cars, and they put all our bikes in the trunks, and they rode us to the projects, Parkside Projects in Hempstead. And and I remember my grandmother was mad at that. I got a beating because she said, just make sure that you don't come back in handcuffs or in a coroner's van for childbirth. It's my side worthless. That's one of my rhymes. Just make sure you don't come back in handcuffs or in the coroner's van. That's one thing she always told me. Just make sure you don't come back in a police car home or in a coroner's van. That was her only stipulation for me. Everything else, I was free to do anything, which is unlawful. I didn't have no, but so she beat the mess out of me because she did not want me coming home in a police car. And we all came home. We all got beatings. Well, at least I did. Yeah. My goodness. That, guys, that was our reality. Back yesterday, y'all, praise y'all for good cops. If it wasn't for good cops, we'd be all screwed. All cops are not bad. Most are, but not all. I started off the story letting y'all know about the history of New York, and the Dutch West Indies Trading Company was the #1 slave traders, getting the children of Israel, of Yahshuah, that's in the scriptures, from the west coast of Africa, from the Luango coast, right? If you look at the ancient map, it's the kingdom of Judah and all of that where they got us from. The Ashanti kingdom, all those kingdoms, is on the ancient map. I show it on my Bible, on my ministry. They came, the Dutch West Indies, they came, and they are the ones who established New York. All right? Brooklyn was Long Island, Brooklyn and Queens, they're still on. An island is a body of land separated by water. You see the map. You don't leave the island to go to Brooklyn. Duh. Let's use our common sense, guys. But it was named it back then. And I started off to telling you that's why when hip hop was created and we had gangs back then, we formed gangs to fight the gangs of the white people had gangs too that would come and try to attack us. So we formed gangs and crews to protect one another. It wasn't like, nah. It was a different world. And every place was surrounded by these evil serpent seed white people, the evil ones that wanted to kill the children that were cursed from the scriptures, the Most High's children, the people of the book. So, yeah, Zayana, that was a very nice white guy. The one who told me to get a job, he said, I will even hire you if you was old enough. And he said, I'm not going to call the cops on you. He said, how are you going to start your life off with a criminal record? He was going to help me. He was going to help. He told me to take the bike. I actually got the bike. I kept it too. And then I got into a fight. So, us little kids, we get home the next day. I get my butt beat, all that from my grandmother. Practically lost my life. And do you know this fool wanted to say it's his bike? And he was bigger than me. Oh, yeah. I fought somebody. I always would fight. We had a drag down. He beat me a little bit, but he didn't get the bike. He didn't get the bike. I kept it. I earned this. That's mine now. I got this bike in blood. You got to be kidding me. This is my bike. He wanted to get, that's the fool that got up and got on my bike and left me. I got off my bike to help him, to get the little white boy of him. He going, get up, get free, and get on my bike and ride off. It didn't help me. And then want to come back and say the next day, I got a shiny, I got a Mercedes Benz in the hood, guys. What's up, Al Pizzle? What's up, dog? I got a Mercedes Benz for a bike. And this fool want to get jealous. That's my bike. Give me my bike. Man, you tripping. You ain't getting this bike. I know you bigger than me, but we about to fight. And we fought. He won. He beat me up a little bit, but he didn't get the bike. He didn't want to fight no more either. That's why he didn't get the bike. Because he's going to have to fight again. I was going to fight you every day. You ain't getting this bike. You ain't getting this bike. And he let it go. Yep, he beat me up a little bit. You know, I was bruised, but he got us so much of a fight because he's bigger than me, a lot bigger than me. He didn't get the bike, and my boy was like, "That's fly, shiny." I had that bike for a long time, and when I told my grandmother the story, she was like, "This was the black people back then." She was like, "We taking that bike back." I said, "But grandma, they tried to kill me for the bike." You taking it back. The bike is stolen. We don't take stolen property. That was our ancestors. Yeah. They were back in the 70s and 60s. Our parents, they had morals. They were law abiding. They didn't play no games. She's like, and you know what she did? She got, Dasa Debo. She got, he said, "You give me that bike." She got in her car and we went to Baldwin trying to find who belonged. I said, "I don't remember the street," which I didn't. And we riding around Baldwin. Now listen, my grandmother, she put me in the car, put the bike in the trunk, and trying to tell me, "Take me to where this white man house is. We giving them back this bike." I'm like, "But it's my bike." "No, it ain't. It's stolen." I'm like, "But the man told me to take it," which he did. "No, he didn't. You lie again, I'm going to beat you again." So she didn't believe me. But he did tell me to take it. I like, "He did." You know, you little kid. "But he did, Grandma, he did." "No, he didn't. You say it again, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat your ass." She used to curse me. "I'm going to beat you again when we get home." So I just had to shut up. I knew she wouldn't have believed me, right? She think I'm lying. So we riding around, right? So we trying to find the house, the street, and I don't know it. So we going, and this is the funny part. Every time we turn down a block and we see people out in the yard, you hear, "Get out of our neighborhood, nigga." It's so funny. So my grandmother is riding, and she's short and she's dark skinned. My grandma's really dark skinned, right? Really dark skinned, right? So we riding, and she's trying to do a good act, a noble thing. And every time some people, and even the white boys in the street, "Get out of my neighborhood, nigga." And I laugh. I gotta stop because she has popped the mess out of me in my mouth, right? But I'm laughing, right? Because I'm like, "You tripping, Grandma. If you stop this car and get out, we might not make it out of here." And she realized, right? My grandma from the South. She from Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis in the building, right? She from Tennessee. So she know about that old slavery. You know, that even worse than this, right? It's the same, but it's just different, right? So so I could tell her getting flashbacks, right? So she driving and she said, so we did it. It happened like 2 or 3 times, right? So we turned down another street. So she said, "Is this the street?" I said, "I don't know, Grandma. Grandma, we gotta leave." And she's like, "Yeah." She started to get light. "Yeah, we gonna return this." She wasn't saying it she wasn't as aggressive as she was a couple of minutes ago, right? So I'm laughing on the inside. I was like, I'm like, "Oh, you getting a wake-up call." So we driving and we get to another house. They like, "Pull the car over, nigga, and you won't make it out of here. Pull that car over." And she looked at me. She said, "I think we need to get out of here." I said, "Thank you, Grandma." She said, "You can keep this damn bike." I said, "Thank you." And she turned that car around and she took off. I guess she had a flashback of Memphis, Tennessee. She took off and hit it. I was like, there you go. Now you talking, Grandma. Let's get out of here. She's like, I can get my butt back to the projects, you heard? Facts. So she took off and we went back to the projects. We went back to Parkside. And she got there. We pulled in the parking lot. She looked at me. She said, don't do that no more. She said, y'all stay out of those neighborhoods. They would have killed you. I said, I know, Grandma. I'm not going to do it no more. And I never did. I never did that again. And I stayed out of their neighborhoods as much as I can. I never did it again. And she said, get this bike out my trunk. And we took the bike out. And she said, let me see that thing. And she looked at it. She said, that's a pretty bike. I said, I know. I said, Grandma, the man told me to take it. She said, why'd you stop? I said, he did, Grandma. And then I told her the story. And she said, that's a good white man. She said, that's a good one. You know, she's from the South. She said, that's a good white man. And she said, I really wish you knew where his house was. I said, I don't remember. She said, that's a good white man. She said, there are some good white folks in this world, but you got to be careful. Ain't much of them. And she worked for a white family in Rockville Center. She was what they call them. His name was Mr. Linty, and they lived in a mansion in Rockville Center, Long Island. And she, like from the slavery days, she was a house, she was a maid. She wore the uniform and took care of the white babies back from the Jim Crow. She did that till she died. And do you know, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, but I'm going to end it with this. I watched my grandmother slave for this white man's family. And they even named my little brother Vincent after the white man's son. She slaved for this white rich man's family all of our life. She wouldn't take food stamps and welfare because she was too proud. And I didn't like that because Raheem and Whip moms, Louise wasn't too proud. And Louise got food stamps. Louise had 5 kids. Every 1st and the 15th, they had mad food. They had fruits and oranges and bananas, and they had so much food. I said, Grandma, what? And I said, Grandma, why don't you get welfare so we can have a bunch of food? Boy, ain't nobody, I work for my, she was too proud, which I understand. But I never went without, but we didn't have all of Raheem house, boy. That's what we used to practice for the Nasty Four. Every 1st and 15th, Wheezy, we used to call her Wheezy. Louise from the Jeff. Wheezy had that doggone refrigerator full. They had fruits and berries and grapes and bananas and the garden on their table. And I'm like, oh, I used to love Raheem. He used to be sliding me bananas and sliding me stuff. But my grandma was too proud. Now, she slaved for this white family her whole life. Do you know when this white man died? Now, I'm going to give you clarity. The white man's family, he was rich. Nobody came to see him. His family just lived wherever. My grandmother took care of him hand and foot. And I was there because I was a little boy. I was raised by her. So she would take me with her to work, right? During the summertime when I wasn't in school. So I would just be in there playing with his piano and playing with his dog. And he had a big mansion, just playing in his house. And, toys. She would bring toys. And I knew the white one, Mr. Linty. And she took care of him, nursed him all the way he was in his 80s, 90s till he died. Do you know when this man died, he left my grandmother nothing? He gave everything to this family who abandoned him. And they came, and I had to watch them. I was a little bit older, and I watched the hurt on my grandmother's face. When they divided the will, and they divided things, and this one got this house, this one got this house, this one got this certain amount of $1 million. Like they got all of these treasures. He left everything. This one got the piano. This one, and they just divided everything. And one of the sons felt really bad because he knew he would be the only one who would call and check up. And my grandma, when we would take him to the hospital, she would, and sometimes he would come if it's real emergency. And he felt bad, and he gave her an old car that Mr. Linty had, but it was like brand new, but it was old, and it just never was driven. Because, you know, rich white people, they have those cars that have 1,000 miles, and the car be 20 years old. Classic car, but they never drive it, been in the garage, and they just started up. It was one of those. And he gave her that, and she just gave it to my father. She felt so disrespected. She just gave it to my dad, and who didn't raise me, but she raised me. He, whatever. Y'all know his stories on my ministry. So I watched them, because she took me with them to the will thing, and they divvied up everything, and she sat there and watched them disassemble this whole house that we were raised in. And he gave her nothing. That was that took a piece of her. She was never the same after that. She was broken. And then she didn't work anymore because that was her only job. She never got on welfare though. She just did odd stuff, odd jobs. She volunteered in the church. That's what the cheese line in the church. That's what I got stories coming that's going to tie into that. But that hurt. I guess he wasn't a good white man. I guess the son was better than him because the son actually gave her the car. He gave her something. Should have gave her more than that, but yeah. All right. So that story, praise the Most High. So y'all got some understanding about the foundation of New York City and how it was created. Y'all got some understanding about the landscape. And I'm sure that happened in every land. In the South, Jersey, Baltimore, Connecticut, everywhere. Detroit. In the 70s and the 60s, this was our reality. Life and death as being a child, just being black. You were hunted down in the streets like animals. And this is from curses that was placed over our head. Ancient curses of what our ancestors did. Log on. Shout out to, I forgot his name now. He told me to put the ministry in the description. So I'll have the ministry. Click on the link. Uncle Yahshuah Mashiach Assembly Ministry. You'll find out all the historical. There ain't no religious stuff. And again, we are not no black Hebrew Israelite wicked people. This ain't that black crazy Hebrew Israelite. It ain't that creepy stuff, guys. Ain't on no creepy stuff. You know, I don't play all that wicked, you know what I mean? But we do know who the children of the people of the book are. We do, and we break it down. None of that crazy. That's them weirdovilles out there yelling with the bullhorn, all the crazy costumes. We ain't on that black Hebrew Israelites crap. It's wicked. That ain't even righteous. They're unrighteous too. All right, guys. Thank you all. Shout out to Paul P. and Louis V. and all Mashiach Assembly here. Al Pizzle. Shout out to Baltimore Jama. Shout out everyone. You know what I mean? My brother Coleman. Shout out to Amar. KD Kid. Sorry for those that I forget that I didn't name. Shout out to everybody who hang in there with Unc. More stories. Shout out to Unique and all of them. Next week, I got I'm going back to street. I got a crazy one coming, a crazy story coming. Unique going to tell part 2 of his story too, of that bully in Huntington, what went down. Hopefully, everyone got some from this story. I have realized I needed to just teach too. This ain't just about telling stories to entertain. It's about telling true life stories and the trauma that the children suffered. And now y'all know where all these places got their name from and the true foundation of it. Everybody, please hit that like button. And we did it, guys. We did it. Another one down. Another one down. Uncle Yahshuah, 25 to Life Tales Live Show TV. Guys, we got another one, crazy one coming next week. I'll be here 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, 8 p.m. We did it, guys. Keep it functional. And remember, love Yah, y'all. Love the Most High. Until next time, I see y'all all, and I love y'all all. Blessings, and may the Most High cover you all and your families. Uncle Yahshuah Mashiach Assembly Ministries. Log in, subscribe. We out. This is 25 to Life with Uncle Yahshuah.
You wanna know why they call me Lucky Lucha? They call me Lucha cause I like to tuck that choochie. All the time on the grind, getting that doochie.
This is a little story on 25 to Life with Uncle Yahshuah. Like and subscribe for more incredible stories every week.
Police are on the scene of a triple homicide on Long Island. It happened overnight at a home in Hempstead.
I'm from Hempstead, Parkside, the ghetto, the dog's hot, strong, hot, the wrong, I think I'm supposed to run.